Hello YouTube! Dumb Orange 927 here, and Dust Thunder 9 back again for another video.
Hey guys.
So basically today, guys, we are presenting our second Star Wars Versus video in the Versus series. And today we are going to be doing Kanan Jarrus versus Darth Maul.
Yeah, this is a new Versus video we've just came up with these opponents. It should be a pretty good one.
Now, another disclaimer, I'm okay with using Rebels, just FYI. And I actually wanted to do a character off Kanan through Rebels, just because what happened with him and Maul were pretty significant in the season finale. So yeah. History. Kanan Jarrus was the Padawan of Jedi Master Deba Bellata. I apologize if I said that wrong, just can't pronounce these days. He was a survivor of the Great Jedi Purge because his master sacrificed himself in order for him to escape. Kanan ran from practically the Empire and abandoned his Jedi ways and joined with Hera and the Ghost crew. He eventually came into contact with Ezra Bridger and basically tried to train him in the ways of the Force. He saw the potential in the young boy and believed that Ezra could be trained to become a Jedi. Eventually, Ezra does become a Jedi. Kanan has come into conflict with the Grand Inquisitor, who he later defeats after a notable few tries. After that, he engages Darth Vader, but easily gets bested. He has come into conflict with other Inquisitors, examples being the 5th brother, 7th sister, and later the 8th brother. And after having a vision from a Jedi temple guard, stated that his apprentice could be at risk of falling to the dark side, they traveled to Malachor in order to understand the Sith. While there, they have met with Maul, the 3 Inquisitors, and later in time, Vader. During this initial event, Maul blinded Kanan after defeating the 3 Inquisitors, out of a betrayal of Maul wanting Ezra to become his new apprentice, and during this engagement, Kanan managed to separate himself from Maul and save Ezra from Vader. After that, Kanan returned to the crew blinded, and basically his fate after this has for now been unknown. Darth Maul has been known as an Iridonian Zabrak, though later sources have said he's a Dathomirian Night Brother. Yeah, I don't like it either. He was taken at a very young age and was trained under Palpatine to become his personal assassin and practically his Sith apprentice. However, a fun fact noting is Palpatine never viewed Maul as an actual Sith Lord, stating that Maul was nothing more but an assassin and a tool for his will. That being said, though, he did train Maul to practically be the best he could be at his time. He engaged multiple Jedi. He was also involved in the Naboo crisis, where he engaged Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. He defeated Qui-Gon Jinn, however was later cut in half by Kenobi. I will not be taking Darth Maul's survival into account, only because whatever cybernetics and mental changes he has had will drastically change his capabilities. Physical abilities.
So starting out with Kanan, we can pretty much tell his physical abilities off the bat. He's mainly just a human. He's in good condition for his age, and he's definitely not weak, but he's nothing special either. I wouldn't say that he's anything great. He's just a Jedi, I guess I could say.
The fact is that Kanan is really just the basic. He has pretty decent stamina, pretty decent dexterity, and pretty decent strength and speed, but he has nothing really big going for him. He's really just a little bit of everything, to be honest.
There's nothing that I would say, like, makes him great. He's just okay, I guess you could say, in this category.
Now, I will say he does have a pretty good pain tolerance due to the fact that he could resist most tortures that the Empire had to throw at him. And even resisted the mind probe with the Grand Inquisitor, which, pretty impressive feat. Darth Maul, where do we get started? I'll just say it right away. Maul is a freaking tank!
Well, his natural species automatically guarantees him a bit more pain tolerance and physical attributes than a normal human being. So, right off the bat, he's a bit more physically trained than a human. Not just that, he automatically is a tank. For gosh sakes, I know we're not going past the Phantom Menace, but he survived getting sliced in half, which it's
and
pretty
notably,
impressive.
His fear is also not that high, considering he only flinched once, and that's when he was cut in half.
And plus, he's automatically a very intimidating person. Well, not person, a very intimidating creature. Set that no one I know would probably mess with.
So yeah. In the end, between these two, the conclusion's kind of obvious.
Maul wins this one.
And the reasons are kind of simple. Maul has greater strength, better endurance, better combat training. He actually learned Terra's Kaze, which allows him to compete with Force wielders just out of martial arts. So Maul doesn't even have to have physical augmentation for him to take down a Force wielder.
Yes, Maul definitely gets the upper hand in this one by far.
Lightsaber combat.
Darth Maul's lightsaber combat has never been confirmed, but from close examination we can kind of determine it. He's more of a Tajemso/Juyo specialist when it comes to offense, while I would say more of a Form 1 specialist when it comes to multiple opponents, because he has performed that notably against, Phantom Menace, against Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
Maul is also respectively really good at using physical strikes in his lightsaber sequences, many punches and kicks on his behalf. And many have actually stated, including myself, that Maul's kicks are actually physical enough to actually kill someone. I kid you not.
You can definitely tell from Maul that he definitely knows martial arts. Like, not only does he know how to use a lightsaber, but he can use physical combat during actual fight sequences.
So, Maul's a pretty impressive person in terms of lightsaber combat, and he also has pretty good experience on his hands.
He bested Qui-Gon Jinn and did fight against Obi-Wan Kenobi, but he lost that battle.
Kanan is, well, it's hard to determine him as a lightsaber duelist. We have had sources determine that he is a Form 3 specialist in defense, while his offense is more of a Settle Ataru.
Yes, he has a defensive attribute to him, as well as, this hasn't been confirmed, but it's more of an Ataru. He doesn't do flips such as Yoda, but he does use more high agility strikes as on his side against opponents.
Now, sources have used that Kanan does know a bit more. He knows Jarkai with his experience with the two blades. And I do assume he knows Shien when he has stated the reverse hand grip during his fight with Maul in the last episode of Rebels.
But we will be noting, during this fight, he will not use Jarkai just because he will only be using his single blade.
He is also a capable marksman, demonstrating several times that he is able to use blasters pretty efficiently.
Yes, he can use blasters. He's also has a few notable experiences.
He has been able to go against multiple people, including Inquisitors, including the Grand Inquisitor, and like I said, he can use Jarkai against them. However, there is one thing we need to mention with his dueling abilities. Vader.
Well, during Star Wars Rebels, he did cross Vader, which he technically survived, but he was just toyed with throughout the entire thing and fared worse than Luke did from The Empire Strikes Back. And even at this point, he had Ezra by his side.
The fact of the matter is that many tried to put a pedestal stating, ooh, he could go against Vader, blah, blah, blah. Not really. There are two things to justify this. One, Vader made it perfectly clear in that episode that his plan was not to kill those rebels, but instead use them to lower the Empire to the rebel fleet, I guess. And not only that, but Vader was just outright toying with them.
Really, at that point, he was just trying to see their capabilities. He really wasn't even trying to kill them, because if he was, he probably could have done that upon impact.
Like, in many ways, Vader could have really dealt with them any way he wanted to.
Yeah, so that was a pretty disappointing loss for Kanan.
Despite that, Kanan is still talented, but at the end, we do give Maul the edge.
Maul definitely gets the edge in this one. It's not by that much, but it would give Maul the advantage just because of the fact he has had a bit more experience, in my opinion, and plus, I think he's a better duelist.
But despite that, it would be pretty fair competition, though.
Yes.
Force abilities. Kanan Jarrus' force abilities is in many ways questionable.
Well, he really doesn't have many force abilities that are seen on screen. Matter of fact, one of the only times is when he forced the Inquisitor up on a wall for a few seconds, which he could barely hold until he had to let go because it was too heavy. I do think that his force abilities are a bit lacking, and I doubt he will be able to hold Maul up at all, because really, his force shield is very weak. It got broken plenty of times, even by the Inquisitor himself.
Now, I will state he is good at resisting mind probes, so psychological warfare tactics won't come into play too much, even on Maul's behalf. But still. Darth Maul, with his force abilities, is a very interesting one. Maul is one of those people who is highly capable with the force. He can do force chokes, force pushes, force grips. He has been known to do a lot. And he has also been known to actually use the force to actually put a man into shock instantaneously. He's been very good with these attributes. Though the problem with Maul and his force abilities is he very much neglects using them in combat.
He doesn't use many force abilities in combat. He does have the capabilities to do so. He uses the force to his advantage in many ways, not just by the natural ways, but he even uses them to his environmental advantage. For an example, at times when he needs a bigger environment, he could pick up like a battle droid, throw it at a door, and open it. That actually happened. He uses the force to his advantage in battles, but not frequently.
And in many ways, Maul has really only resort to force abilities in high desperation tactics in many circumstances.
So, if it comes down to it, Maul will use it, but he doesn't often.
Between these two, Maul also gets the edge in force abilities, but this one is a very interesting thing, because the reason we give Maul the edge is because Maul has more to use. He has more variety, more control, and he can just do more with it.
As much as Maul doesn't use it as much, Kanan physically just can't use as much in general.
While Maul just chooses not to.
Maul chooses not to, while Kanan just can't.
Meaning, if Maul was put in a scenario where he absolutely needed to use them,
then he would, but that's the reason we give him the edge.
Equipment. Kanan Jarrus has a very basic standard lightsaber hilt mixed in with a blue blade. That blue blade has not been confirmed, but we can guess it's a blue Adagian crystal as the focusing lens. However, there is one feature of Kanan's blade that is remotely interesting. he does have a dual phase function, which, in case you don't know what that is, it allows one to control the length of the blade to either shorten or long the blade.
So this basically helps him in his distance of where he needs to hit. So it's definitely a pretty good attribute that his saber has.
Darth Maul has a very interesting design of a saber staff. While many saber staffs like Satil Shan's or Savage Opress designs it solely out of a saber staff, Maul carefully designed the weapon to actually make it two separate lightsabers and conjointed them as one.
So if his lightsaber ever got chopped in half, at least one of them would survive, if not both, if it was hit directly in the middle.
Maul has 4 red synthetic crystals as the focusing lens. And yeah, that's really about it. Between these two, we have decided Kanan would win because there is one thing we forgot to mention. Kanan is equipped with a blaster pistol.
As we mentioned actually earlier, he can be a marksman. He does have a blaster pistol. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean it's by much, but if worse came to worse, he has more variety. So I'm not saying he's going to use the blaster pistol, but it's there and it's usable, so we give Kanan the edge.
Now, the verdict.
Well, if we count up the votes, we can obviously tell that Maul would win. And this is how I think the fight would play out. I think that Maul would win, and I think the fight would play out more of Maul would go in, and it would be a stalemate for a long period of time. Really, Maul's Juyo and Jujemso strikes would kind of get a little bit, would be defended a lot by his Sarisu of Kanan's. Now, after a while, I do think Kanan's dexterity would weaken, and Maul's physical attributes would show, with kicks, punches, and eventually weak spots would be given by Kanan, and just the pure intimidation factor of Maul would eventually get to Kanan's physical attributes.
Not only that, but with Maul's superior force abilities, yes, while he does neglect to use them, if worst came to worse, that Kanan managed to get any sort of advantage over Maul, which I kind of doubt, Maul would quickly resort to the force abilities, and in that scenario, it would really kind of wrap up the fight. It's like, don't get me wrong, I don't think Maul's force abilities are powerful enough to end Kanan on its own right, but it is enough to stagger and weaken him.
And we can all tell that I do think that Kanan is a bit weak when it comes to those force abilities, which Maul can easily use to just push him out the way, or just buy him some time, or even disarm Kanan.
Which, if he succeeds disarming him, yes, Kanan has the blaster pistol, which could buy Kanan time, but at that point, what this comes down to is the fact that Kanan cannot beat Maul solely because Maul will consume him. Maul is a fighter that relies not on defeating your enemy immediately, but slowly but surely, breaking his opponents down.
It's not a matter of if Maul would beat Kanan, it's a matter of when. I don't think he would, like, obviously I don't think he would beat him on impact, like right when they start, Maul would win, but I do think it is a pretty sure estimate Maul would win against Kanan.
This scenario of a fight, if I had to take out of 10, I would probably give Maul a 8 out of 10 ratio that he would win.
8 out of 10 ratio. It has to be a pretty crazy thing would have to go down for Maul to actually
I would think
Kanan
the only way Kanan could possibly get an advantage is if he succeeds in chopping the saber staff down.
And even then, Maul at least will have one blade, which Maul actually can use one blade. It's been shown. Okay, not necessarily in the Phantom Menace, but in later times it has been shown.
And even the Phantom Menace, he has demonstrated the use of it. So, yes. In the end, guys, Darth Maul would win this. But like I said, this is our opinion. Please feel free to chime in, tell us what you think. Please keep things civil, guys. We're really just trying to carefully examine these characters you know, I have no hard feelings or anything if Kanan's like your favorite Jedi.
Yeah, it's not about which character we think is better in general. Really, it's just if
Which
we
one
put them
would
in
win a scenario.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So yeah, that was our second versus video, guys. We're not just doing Star Wars. We'll do all kinds of subjects when it comes to versus videos. We might even intertwine universes, who knows. But we want to thank you guys for watching this video. And yeah.
Well, guys, this is Dumb Orange 927.
And Dusk 9.
And we'll see you next time.
Peace out.